Hello, and welcome to the Patron Q&A for my video, How I Spent My Summer Vacation.
Hello. I also spent summer vacation with you.
You did, that's true. Thank you all so much for asking questions and for being here. I honestly really missed doing these.
Yeah, it's been a while, it feels like.
Yeah, I know that we've done one of these since we moved, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, we've been busy. All right, shall we jump into it?
Yeah, let's get right in.
Ramona Kelly says, question, hey, how are you doing? Thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
A lot of people shared that sentiment. I really appreciate how patient everybody's been. Obviously, I've talked about that in the video and on podcasts and stuff, but it really does mean a lot. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm great.
Yeah, me too, for once.
I know.
DZ Uzi says, pancakes or waffles? It depends on my mood, personally.
I haven't had waffles in a really long time because we really only eat pancakes from scratch.
Yeah, because I don't make waffles.
Yeah, and we don't have like a waffle iron or anything. It seems way too unwieldy to own a waffle iron.
But I feel like a really good fluffy waffle, like nothing can
Yeah.
beat. So I'll say that my general answer is pancakes, because like good pancakes, bad pancakes, I
Yeah.
can enjoy them. But like a really good waffle beats pancakes for
I'm
me.
gonna say secret third answer. I really like crepes.
I do love a crepe.
Yeah, I've never been able to make them though. They're way too hard.
No, they're not. They're easy. I'll make them for you.
You gotta make them so thin. It's so hard. I mean, I
Yeah.
can barely make normal pancakes. I don't know what it is. I've never been good at it.
You
I can never
kinda
get the
just-
consistency.
Yeah.
right.
You get kind of a sense for the consistency.
Yeah.
Bumble says, opinions on Sonic Frontiers footage and info.
I'm pretty neutral.
I'm tentatively excited.
Yeah, I feel like for everything I see that makes me a little cautious, I see another thing that is pretty exciting. Big the Cat's gonna be in it. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, what makes
It's got stages. Woohoo!
Yeah. What makes me the most apprehensive is that I just really like the Sonic Ensemble cast. Like, I
Yeah.
like Sonic just fine, but I don't really like it when he's, like, by himself.
Yeah, which I feel like he has been for. Well, I mean, not necessarily, actually.
A lot of the
I
preview footage has just kind of been him alone.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
we'll see. I'm still excited, though. I hope it's good.
yeah,
That's kind of the beginning and end of my opinion.
yeah.
Blue Bee says, I wanted to quickly ask if you've read any of Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shots he released over the past year or so, and if so, what did you think of them? Also, have you heard of Forest by Liarsoft? I never beat it, but I played it when I was like 15, and it did something to my brain I can't put my finger on. Notes of warning for anyone else reading this, though. It's absolutely an eroge, however, the style's unlike what I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've read all of Tatsuki Fujimoto's one-shots. I think there might be a few really early ones that I haven't read yet, but the vast majority I have, and I've read everything that he's done post Fire Punch.
I haven't read any of his one-shots.
His one-shots are
I
some of
need to read them.
my favorite of the things that he's done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
and
been meaning
then
to.
I haven't played Forest, but Alyssa,
Oh my
look at this.
God.
Doesn't this look absolutely
This looks
cracked?
crazy.
Yeah. I'm like really fascinated by how it looks.
Uh-huh. Yeah, this is nuts.
Yeah, like each new screen cap on VNDB is crazier looking than the last.
Consider me curious.
Yeah, I'd like to give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, let's do it. Habibi says, did you read any interesting books, too? I love your anime and manga reference books you've mentioned so far in your videos.
Yeah, so I started it a little bit before I went on hiatus, but I did finally read all of Beautiful Fighting Girl by Saito Tamaki, and I really liked it. In the book, Hiroki Azuma. There's so many different Azumas.
Yeah.
Hiroki Azuma wrote that he sees Beautiful Fighting Girl as kind of like the older sister to his book, Otaku Japan's Database Animals. I'll say very briefly that I think in a weird way, I feel like those two books really do complete each other, even though they're so at odds with one another. Azuma's book, I think, is kind of a failure in the sense that he winds up like, a lot of his criticisms that he draws from his theories feel very incoherent, whereas the theories that he proposes make sense. And then meanwhile, like, Beautiful Fighting Girl is like a very otaku positive book from a psychoanalysis perspective. But like the thing about psychoanalysis is that, like, I can't remember who said it, but there's a psychologist who basically said that, like, psychology is a practice that's doomed to be a decade behind the times at any given moment, because that's functionally the only way to go about it ethically.
Yeah.
As per, you know, the way that the systems are set in place currently. But it's a book that definitely feels dated in spots, and that felt dated when it came out, and that I think is kind of like, you kind of need to take certain facets of it with a grain of salt and remember that it is very radical that he's writing from that positive perspective to begin with.
Right.
So I would definitely recommend those two in tandem with one another.
I definitely got that vibe from what you read of it to me. Like, some of the conclusions he comes to, I'm like, okay, I get that, but like how he gets there, I'm like, I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
Yeah. He does make some very salient points, though. There's a whole chapter where he compares Henry Darger to otaku, and that's a great time.
Ramona Kelly says, okay, serious question. Can you post the paella recipe? My wife is a vegetarian.
I kind of modified, I forget the name of the website. It's just called like Food and Wine or something like that. They had a website, or a recipe up on their website for a paella that specifically has chorizo in it. And I followed the recipe as it was laid out, but I replaced the scallops and the or oysters or whichever it is, and the shrimp. I replaced those with king oyster mushrooms.
Yeah, it was
that
great.
I
she cut them into shrimp shapes.
I did. I marinated them, and then I cooked them, and then I deglazed the pan with a bunch of wine and lemon juice, and then I added them to the pot. And then obviously I used soy rizo instead of chorizo. And that got it pretty darn good.
It was fantastic. Shelso says, would you recommend the Space Runaway Ideon movie without seeing the anime? It seems like something I'd enjoy watching, but not sure if I have the time to sit through the anime.
This is the kind of thing where people who really like the anime in full are going to yell at me for saying that you can just watch the recap film and be invoked. I really genuinely think that I got more out of that experience than I would have watching the full series, because I would have been really resistant to watching it, and I think it would have made me feel a lot more hostile toward the anime as a whole, because it is like 40-something episodes.
I feel like if you look at a series like that and you're like, this looks up my alley, then watch the whole anime. But I think if it's not your kind of thing, you look at it and you know.
Yeah. So. And I do know a lot of friends who have a pretty high tolerance for mecha in general, or who are really into it, in fact, who have said, like, I've tried for years and years to watch that anime, and it's just never come to me. So I think at a certain extent, it's, like, totally okay to just
watch the summary
Just watch
movie.
the recap movie, and then read the plot summary on Wikipedia to fill in the gaps, and then watch Be Invoked. Be Invoked genuinely does, like, a weirdly good job of getting you up to speed with, like, the morality and the interpersonal factors that are going into the politics, which are ultimately what wind up mattering in that movie. And I think that's why it's such a success.
Sim says, any plans on replaying or playing any other RPG Maker games and their reworks in addition to Eve?
I kind of went through that last year for research for a video that I've been working on for like a year and a half now.
You played a whole bunch.
Yeah. What all did we play? We played Mermaid Swamp.
Yeah, we played Mermaid Swamp.
I played
Witch's
Yume Nikki
House.
for the first time, Witch's House.
Yume Nikki, yeah.
Obviously, I played all of Parun's games.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was kind of a good centering.
At some point, I think it is technically an RPG Maker game. I would love to play all of Your Turn to Die with you someday.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a fun stream.
Yeah.
I know that's not the genre of games this person's talking about, but... Cooper says, after watching Ideon, do you have any interest in engaging with any other works by Tomino?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen all of the original Gundam. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I tried watching Zeta and I didn't click with it at all. That being said, I would still really like to check out War in the Pocket, Turn A, and I feel like there are one or two others. There's like one from like the early 90s. It's an OVA series that people talk about being like really, really beautifully animated. Those are kind of the main ones that I want to hit up.
Kieran says, what would you consider the most underutilized genre or subgenre in any medium? What unexplored ideas do those genres have that you wish were more thoroughly developed?
What comes to mind for you? I kind of had to brainstorm a little bit before I felt like I came up with anything.
That's such a broad question.
Yeah, I mean, it's less of a genre or subgenre and more of a technique, but I really wish that more media utilized mixed media. I think there are so many ways to do it that, like, I really just kind of haven't seen fully utilized. That I think would really add to, you know, all flavors of stories, really. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of thing can be such a powerful storytelling tool when used right. And even if it's just, like, to be cool, it is also very cool when it's used well. In addition, I would say that I would like to see more josei anime. There's a lot of really, really good josei out there that is, like, as, like, sort of proactive and transgressive as, like, a lot of really beloved seinen are. And it's flown really far under the radar. And I think that's a shame.
Mm-hmm. I feel like this is a tangent, but it's just on my mind because of the demo. I really like the way Splatoon, like, crosses over genres, especially, like, among its music and, like, its in-universe bands.
Right.
I'm really enjoying that the idols this time around combine, like, traditional Japanese singing and traditional Indian singing and, like, their respective aesthetics. I think that's really cool. I always really like hearing music that mixes unexpected genres.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I'm too sleepy to think this broadly. I'm sure I'll think of a good answer after we hit stop. Jet Ronin says, I wanted to ask if there's a dating sim / bishoujo type of game, eroge or otherwise, that got you invested, at least by a bit of the way in, rather than just playing because you knew it was a significant piece for one reason or another. I was also wondering if you'd consider adding a more consistent little few-minute section with Alyssa on human insects, because the moments she pops into Pod Spirit for a second are always very nice. No, it's mostly you and Nikki, but I thought it might be good as an intermission or something.
I honestly really like calling you over without it being like a predetermined thing. I really like just kind of throwing you into the fire in those moments.
I love how I never have any idea what it is you're about to ask me. I don't even remember what I said last time you guys called me over. Was it something about cat girls?
Probably.
I mean, there are a lot of dating sims and bishoujo games that I've played.
Yeah, I don't mean to imply that either those were the only that I've played or that I only played them because of their historical importance. My MO is kind of like I don't feel the obligation to complete very many games on the merit of their cultural significance, because I think in a lot of instances you can get pretty close to understanding just by reading about the development and the aftermath and by sampling a bit of it. Like, I think that tone and character tend to be some of the most replicatable aspects of really beloved Bishoujo games, rather than like specific narrative beats or things like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I really loved Dokusei.
Yeah, Dokusei was incredible. I think Dokusei is the most that I've loved, like, a kind of traditional, like, old-fashioned dating sim.
Right.
I play a lot of otome games. The Switch is kind of my otome machine. I've played like a ton of the games that are on. I wish I remember the website name, but the website that hosts like a bunch of old PC98 dating sims.
Yeah.
Like, I've played a lot of the ones on there just because they were there. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, that was how you played Runaway City.
Yeah, I played Runaway City. I played Les Ring.
That one seems like it.
I stopped playing that one, actually, because it was kind of upsetting me. Well, not upsetting me. That's kind of a strong word. But I was just kind of like, all right, I've had enough.
Yeah, you kind of reach a point where it's like, okay, this officially doesn't have utility outside of its pornography.
I think I'm good. Like, Don't Call Me Amy or whatever it's called.
I don't know that one.
That one is really weird. It's like every section of its story is like its own thing, and like the characters treat them like anime episodes and like introduce what the next segment is going to be like at the end of it's really baffling, but the main character is like bafflingly stupid in like a really funny, charming way. There is also a lot of pseudo question mark incest in it that was kind of like, I mean, it's an old Arrow game. I'm just kind of like, whatever.
There's really no way not to brush up against that stuff. Like,
yeah, if you're playing old Arrow game, you just kind of...
I mean, even if you're playing new Arrow game,
you just say a Hail Mary and you go in knowing exactly.
I mean, that's also where I continue to win, because I feel no obligation to go through every character route.
Yeah.
The only time I did that was with Tsukihime. And
a lot of old Arrow games don't even have routes. They're just like...
Right, yeah.
They just, like, experience the story and see all the porn that happens on the way.
Yeah. And those tend to be brisk enough in that regard that it's a lot easier to
God, what was the one I
get through it.
What was the one I played that had a twist ending?
It was Runaway City.
Oh, that was Runaway City?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I played a lot of ones like that, so I couldn't remember. Yeah, that one I called it, like, early on. I was like, there's gonna be a big twist at the end, and then there was.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just drank soda and now my throat feels weird. Juan Trevino says, so many of the things you talk about feel unique and seem to have something that makes them enjoyable, whether it's a strong artistic vision or well-meaning ideas. Where do you draw the line between flawed but enjoyable and not very good?
I think it's kind of like a delicate balancing act. Like, there's kind of like a scale going on where it's like things that disinterest me and things that interest me. And the second that the things that disinterest me outweigh the things that interest me, all of the things that I was neutral about then got added to the heavier side of the scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like if something manages to keep you interested, the stuff that you're just kind of whatever about becomes charming.
Right, yeah. I would say that generally speaking, I just really like things that feel like they're trying something new. I'm willing to excuse a lot if I feel like they've got that kind of gumption built in.
Yeah, I think I feel about the same.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is just super subjective for me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I like that I know that I wouldn't like under different circumstances, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just the mood I'm in. Joe Uglik, maybe, says, have you checked out your city's aquarium? If so, what do you think of it?
We were
wanted
going
to.
to, but we've heard pretty exclusively that it's really expensive and really small.
Yeah, and I didn't want to see like sad fish in a small container if that's what it was. If it's good though, I'd like to go see it, but I just saw people saying like, yeah, it's really overpriced and it's like
Yeah.
you don't get to see that much.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if I'm paying price of admission, I better see some cool sharks or something. Male Tears asked, are you looking forward to Sonic Frontiers or the Netflix show Sonic Prime?
I'm honestly not very interested in the Netflix show. I kind of just don't like American kid shows.
Yeah, I think I'm finally at an age where American children's cartoons are a little hard for me to stomach because I know too much about what's going on in the kitchen, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen the Sausage Factory up close enough.
Yeah.
It just kind of...
I do think that the voice actor for Sonic Prime is really cute,
Yeah,
though.
I agree.
I love how excited he is to be Sonic.
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of that, so good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that the animated previews I saw for Sonic Prime kind of looked like ass. I'm excited that it seems like it's going to have Shadow the Hedgehog in it, though.
Oh, that's right.
So I'll probably watch it anyway. And yeah, I'm excited for Frontiers, but I'm kind of... I'm preparing for the worst so that I win no matter what.
I am completely neutral. I've reached like a zen state with Frontiers.
Nothing can hurt Hazel now.
Yeah.
Patrick Huishan says, welcome back. Have you ever played the Fate Stay Night visual novel? If so, how did you feel it compares to
No,
Tsukihime?
I don't think I ever want to read another one of Nasu's games ever again. I think I've had my fill.
Yeah.
I believe that Fate Stay Night is better than Tsukihime from a writing perspective, but I think I've had my fill.
Jacob Andrew Wathen says, I recently started getting into visual/sound novels by playing and loving Umineko When They Cry. I've played both DDLC and Katawa Shoujo in the past. Are there any visual/sound novels that were meaningful or impactful for you?
I'll assume you mean in terms of like when I was getting into the medium. I played like a little bit of Katawa Shoujo when I was like, I want to say it was like 2012, like around the time like the like big like final update quote unquote for the game came out. But I didn't play very much of it. Oh, you know what it is? It's Don't Take It Personally, Babe.
Oh yeah.
I played that in high
Christina
school.
Loves games you were really into.
Well, no, I actually only played that one at the time.
Really?
That's the only one that I played up until for research for a video
I
like
played
last
like
year.
all of them.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah.
I guess I was already a visual novel head at that point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Katawa Shoujo just by virtue of it being the first visual novel that was really easy for me to acquire and play because it was free and it had a Mac version.
Right.
And I could turn off the R18 content and not get in trouble. But I had always had an interest in Eroge Bishoujo games and stuff before that. Like, as a kid, I kept trying to make visual novels using Flash because I was so fascinated by the genre. And then after Katawa Shoujo made me become aware of Renpai, I literally just, like, downloaded every Renpai game I could get my hands on, no matter how good or bad it looked. So I probably played like a lot of very odd, crusty, old, early Renpai games that I wouldn't even remember the names of now.
Did you play the 9/11 tribute game?
I have not.
Yeah, look out for that and a Hazel video coming in like 2025.
Oh Lord.
That's not the subject of the whole video. I need to make that clear. But it will come up in a video someday.
Yeah, and actually I haven't really played any sound novels, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, they really are kind of like a dead breed.
I've played kinetic novels.
What is it, 456 or whatever, Shibuya Scramble? That's kind of like the big one.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's like a sequel to, I think it's just called Machi. Those are kind of like the main ones that I want to play that I haven't already. I mean, technically, Higurashi is classified as a sound novel.
Is it?
Because they didn't want to sell it based on the visuals. They thought that calling it a visual novel was overselling the visuals, or so people say, you know.
Y'all.
No, I'm saying that they themselves, like,
No, I
the
know.
7th expansion, yeah.
The self-roast,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, it's sad.
Mars asked, I was curious if you and your wife are planning to go to PAX West.
Fuck no.
Sadly, no. I thought about it. A bunch of my friends are going, and they were like, do you want to come with? And I was like, I'm still itchy about COVID.
I really don't want to get sick.
I'm scared.
I also just really don't like crowds.
I don't mind crowds, and I really like anime and game conventions, but
yeah, it's gonna be a few more years before I'm gonna feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm
being
still trying to be careful.
In a big group.
Also, in regards to visual novels, I would like to recommend arguably the best visual novel made, Muv-Luv. I've been baffled and curious about Muv-Luv for years because it's always incredibly highly rated, but I feel like I know nothing about it.
I watched the anime adaptation of that studio's previous game. It was localized over here's Rumbling Hearts, and I really enjoyed it. I would really like to play Muv-Luv in full. I have it on my Vita right now, but I'm just not really in a visual novel mood. I feel like the next time I get into that headspace, that's going to be the one that I tackle. I played a tiny little bit of it, and I was like really, really impressed by the presentation. It was like very, very lively. And that port does a really cool thing where if you just hit one of the buttons, it switches over to the Japanese script.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I wish more things did that.
Yeah.
Ash Dream Thief asks, seeing you use a Get a Robo page transition made me curious. Have you read much or any of Ken Ishikawa's work? There is, of course, the Nagai mentorship connection, but Ishikawa really came into his own style to the point where I'd argue his composition matches and even exceeds Nagai, which makes Ishikawa's early passing very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's hard. Ishikawa's manga looks fucking incredible. Like his later stuff in the 90s especially is really, really incredible looking. I tried really hard to get through Get a Robo. I just don't like robots. I'm sorry, I don't like big robots. Like I couldn't find the drive. So I had to abandon it, which made me sad. It's a shame. Like, I really think that the one thing that separates Go Nagai and Ken Ishikawa for me is just like Nagai has made a lot more stories that I like and feel drawn to from like an aesthetic and conceptual point of view. I think like him being like a crazy freak pervert is a lot of fun, and I think has caused him to make a lot of stories that I'm just more drawn to. Unfortunately, I really wish I could champion both of them, but it is what it is.
Yeah, Ishikawa's art's great though. Linus Wood asked, how do you have the energy to constantly consume new media? I find it so draining to set aside time and give 100% of my attention to something, if I can even decide what I'm in the mood for. I also find it impossible to split my attention, so I can't watch stuff while I'm doing other things. Are you just built different, or do you have some method of motivation and staying diligent about enlightening yourself through new experiences?
It really took a lot of practice. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's really not in my nature. I think I'm very much so somebody that likes, not necessarily routine, but just like repetition. I really enjoy. I really value going back to things that I like, but I don't really allow myself to these days, given the way that I try to prioritize going about things for the channel. So it kind of was just a matter of like forcing myself into like, okay, I just need to sit here and watch this thing or like read this or whatever. A lot of it early on, I think I kind of developed those habits from like working a few jobs where I had enough downtime that I could sneakily read manga on the clock. When I worked at a rehearsal studio, I did have a lot of downtime where I could just sit and read, and like kind of having that period of time where that was the one thing that I could do there was beneficial. And then that kind of has carried on since. I do really need to pace myself, though. I really can't do the same thing for too terribly long unless it's really hooking my attention. Alyssa and I, over the past few weeks, have gotten into the habit of watching just 3 episodes of an anime each night. And I feel like getting into that routine has made it kind of like, when I think about it that way, it's like it takes 4 nights to get through a 12-episode series. It's not a lot of time. That's an hour per day. It's a very minimal time investment.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of try to think about those sorts of things, or like when it comes to watching stuff in the background, it's kind of something I've been doing for like a really long time. It's often that I have a hard time focusing on certain things unless I'm multitasking. So it is kind of just like a combination of a lot of those smaller factors.
I feel this question asker. I will sit on the same things that I like for like literally years before I find it in me to consume new content.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely how I would be, is the thing. If I didn't have a channel that demanded I not do that.
Yeah. That's why I can't make a channel. Because I only have like 3 things to talk about.
You just gotta specialize in those regards.
Ugh, I can't. I'm too stupid. Oh no, you didn't put the pronunciation for me.
Oh, it's Saoirse.
Saoirse. Saoirse asks, what are the ideal elements of a good vegetarian meal? Like, IMO, the best ones are ones that aren't just substituting meat with another thing and are being their own delicious combo of stuff. Loved the video, especially the Utena gag. I got so hyped for a second, lol. The traveling section was super cozy. I hope there's more segments like this in future videos.
I'll try to fit them in. I really like going places and filming things for videos. I really enjoy just talking about places. Thank you for being a good sport about the Utena gag as well. A lot of people were
so mad. I was reading your comments, and like the only mean comments were people like, "Fuck you! I was so excited."
Make your own Utena video.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million other people talking about Utena. You don't need Hazel to do it.
Yeah, I don't think I would have anything very insightful to say.
Also, I totally feel you about the vegetarian meals. I feel like I had a meal recently. Where was it? We had something from a restaurant, and I was like, oh, thank God, it feels like they actually thought about their vegetarian meals instead of just, like, removing meat.
Oh, what was that?
What was it?
Was it something that we went with Dominic?
It's possible.
Gosh.
I don't remember what it was, but I have that thought all the time of, like, restaurants will fucking charge you more to remove an ingredient. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, I'm just gonna eat the meat then. Like, don't fucking make me waste my time.
Yeah.
But I'm only a situational vegetarian. I'll eat meat if it's good and I'm in the mood for it. Hazel doesn't ever eat it, so.
Yeah. I think that, like, I went vegetarian back in 2017. So it was, like, right on the cusp of like Impossible and Beyond Meats being accessible. So like I kind of got used to not incorporating those things into my meals, and I'm glad that I did, because they're really fucking expensive now.
Yeah, they're good though.
They are really good, and I do honestly, I'm very simple. I do like meals where it's just like make it but with Impossible meat instead.
Yeah, I make hamburg steaks that way for you.
Yeah, and they're really good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think that you kind of just reach a point when you're vegetarian for long enough, and if you cook regularly, that you just kind of get a sense for how to take a meal that has meat, remove the meat, but then find a way to improve it regardless, in ways that aren't just substituting it.
I think a lot of it is like not, or rather it's like Okay, so like a lot of common meat substitutes are like tofu, garbanzo beans, like mushrooms,
Right.
eggs, whatever. That's all good and well, but I feel like so many people don't like put any thought into how they prepare those. So you'll get
Right.
like a lot of like really bland tofu that's just
Yeah.
been like fried
Yeah, it'll
or
be really
like
lightly fried on like one
yeah,
side
yeah,
and then
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like hooked in
Or
there.
like, soggy mushrooms or whatever. Like you have to treat your like quote unquote substitute with the same kind of care that someone treats meat,
Yeah.
but in its own unique way to like maximize the qualities that make that food
Right.
delicious.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then the meal will
What we're
become
saying is that you need to be cooking it with MSG.
yeah, MSG is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
All right. So Daft says, the new video got me thinking about all the things I've been unable or unwilling to find the time to play or watch. I have a few things now that I've been putting off for so long, I think it would be strange to actually watch or play them. I was wondering if you have anything like that. For me, it's Princess Tutu. I feel like people have literally been recommending
I thought that
Princess
you were
Tutu
reading that
to
as
me.
part of the question. I
No,
got
no,
really
no.
confused.
No. Like literally
Yeah.
since I was a kid, people are
Yeah,
like, Alyssa,
me
you
as
would
well.
love Princess Tutu. If you do, is there any reason you've put it off or did it just happen? No, I'm just autistic and I need like 12 years to sit with my one special interest before I'm interested in trying something new. For me, it's Devil May Cry 4. I got that game the day it came out, and at this point, not playing it is just a personality trait.
I actually I can't think of any offhand currently, but there are a lot that are like and I've talked about this with Kyle a lot, who I do streams with, where it's like I am afraid of this thing because I think I'm going to like it too much, and I'm like not emotionally ready to deal with the amount that I'm going to enjoy this thing. And oftentimes when I actually do finally go and do it, I'm right, and I do really like the thing a lot.
Unfortunately for me, I feel like there's just something so contrarian about me that the more I get recommended something, the less likely I am to ever engage with it, even if I literally
I'm thinking
want
about
to.
things that I'm thinking
No,
about.
no, I know what you're saying. I'm saying something
Right.
separate.
Right.
Like people were begging me to watch Hunter x Hunter for like a zillion years, and the more people like demanded I watched it, the more I didn't want to watch it until my friend just literally sat me down and forced me to watch it, and I enjoyed it. I had no reason to put it off.
Well, I think you did. It's like 1,000,000 episodes.
Well, yeah. But
and then there are also the other camp for me is that there are things that are like, oh god, like I really like this thing, but I know it's finite. Like I know I'm gonna run out if I don't really pace myself with it. Like there are some bands where I've loved them for a decade and I still haven't heard all of their material because I feel like I'm still content with the stuff that I know from them, and I know that since they broke up, there's not gonna be more.
That's me, Tatsuro Yamashita, because
Right. I
he's
mean,
got
he has so
much music.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like pleasantly accidentally stumble across songs of his now and then, and I'm like, another banger. Great one, Tatsuro.
Great work, King.
Great work, King. Yeah, I mean, I feel you on both of those. What was I about to say? I lost my thought.
I'm getting you hairbands.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I just I love putting off engaging with things until I get like a brain itch. Where I'm like,
right.
you know, I can really go for this right now.
Oh, you know what's one of those for me? It's fucking Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah.
I've really had the itch to play that game, and I was like a huge hater of it as a teenager. I played it on the fucking Wii Virtual Console, and I was drinking the haterade severely. I got into so many fights with all of my friends about how I thought it was shit. But at some point it just clicked, like, wait, I like really like how this game looks. I really like its atmosphere. I think I would really like it if I just allowed myself to use a guide. So that was the fucking problem. I played that game at a time where I didn't have the internet. So like I had no way of knowing how to get through stuff, and it was really frustrating to just hit these walls constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I every single time I think like I'm gonna play it and then I'm gonna play Majora's Mask, I do other shit.
Yeah. Yep. Do I have a game like that? I mean, I just never finish video games. Unless I'm, like, addicted to them.
Right.
I never finished Breath of the Wild, although I did watch other people finish it, so I saw the ending. But, yeah, I had that kind of, like, I don't want to get to the ending because then I won't have fun exploring anymore. So I just never finished that game. Luigi asked, seeing Melty Blood here made me want to ask, are you into fighting games? I find it interesting how the fighting game kind of eclipsed the original visual novel. It's to the point that most people are surprised when you tell them Melty Blood is based on an eroge.
Seeing Zoomers go, oh my god, they put Neko Arc in a fighting game that's my new biggest Metal Gear Solid 4 Old Snake gif moment.
Mm-hmm.
I really like fighting games. I'm really bad at them. I don't enjoy the competitive aspect. I just like looking at the art, and I like learning the mechanics on like a very surface level. That's why my favorite fighting games are like fucking Gleam of Force, Asuka 120, and like Toki Densho Angel Eyes. Extremely fucked up picks. I've never played those games. Well, no, that's not true. I've played Asuka with other people, but most of my favorite fighting games are games that I've never played with other human beings.
Can I tell you a secret?
Of course you can.
Up until you started, like, reading Tsukihime, whenever I saw Neko Arc on Twitter, I assumed she was just some porn artist persona or something.
That's so crazy.
Like, you know how porn artists will make, like, a little doofy, like, version of themselves that they draw, and then everyone, all the simps draw fan art? I thought Neko Arc was just some porn artist Sona.
That's really, really crazy. That's really crazy.
Elias Rosner says, you mentioned not having gone to certain places in Seattle because they're touristy, and I wonder what it is about a place being touristy that gets residents of the area to avoid it. I feel the same way about places in New York City.
I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it is just like they wind up being overpriced and kind of shallow.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a diluted, overpriced version of things you can experience elsewhere and better. Usually.
Yeah, it's like how, like, you don't go to Voodoo Donuts if you're in Portland. You go to the places that the locals like enough that they're not sick of it living there.
Yeah. Yeah, like, they'll put the bells and whistles on stuff, but it's like, if you live there, you don't need the weird bells and whistles.
Yeah, you just want a really good donut that is fresh and delicious.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't put the pronunciation for me.
Oh, I believe it's Shuvan.
Shuvan says, welcome back. I wanted to ask if there were any dishes other than the paella that you made during your break and would recommend. I'm always looking for new recipes to try. Thanks. I feel like you did, but I mean, those
you know, it was actually really hard to find time to cook because we were moving.
Yeah.
We didn't want to buy ingredients because they were going to be really hard to transport. And then a lot of our stuff was in storage for a long time.
Yeah, we were just kind of eating peasant food for a while there.
Yeah.
I mean, recently you made those sesame noodles and those fucking...
Oh, the Sichuan noodles.
Yeah, the Sichuan noodles.
Yeah. That's based on one of our good friends' recipes.
Yeah, that pogged my balls off.
Yeah, I've been thinking about making it at least once a day since I made it that first time.
Yeah, she made Sichuan noodles with, like, crumpled tofu.
Yeah, I did
that was really good.
Like a tofu, like... I mean, it wasn't quite like a hash or anything like that. I don't really know how to describe it. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of a tofu scramble.
Highly recommend it.
But without egg.
Morpheus says, I remember you mentioning you wanted to do an anime fandoms around the world, and it really intrigued me.
Did I?
Did you? I don't remember that.
I don't remember that. I think that was something that somebody else suggested that I said was a good idea.
Not anime, but there was this Japanese Sherlock Holmes-styled live-action TV show called Shintaro / The Samurai that was huge in Australia in the 60s. Like, they staged a live version play of Shintaro with the original Japanese cast in Australia, and it sold more seats than the fucking Beatles concerts. Huge. Like, my dad talked about how when he was a kid and his friends he and his friends would go outside in their robes doing samurai sword fights with gum tree sticks and using tin lids as shurikens. This was some Naruto weeb shit, but for Australian boomers. It's mad. There's a whole documentary about it, even. It's called Shintaro, the samurai sensation that swept a nation. I got the box set for my dad for his birthday a few years ago. Can confirm it bangs, even with the cheesy 60s era dubbing. I remember my auntie saying that Astro Boy was also pretty popular here, but she could never watch it because she found the story behind Astro Boy too sad.
That's so cute.
That's all adorable.
That's all so cute.
I love that so much. I'm curious about the documentary. I'll have to see if we can find that. Yeah, I don't think I have anything in particular to contribute that. Apparently, Magic Knight Earth is incredibly huge in the Philippines, or it was.
Aww.
So there's like a cute Tagalog dub of the theme song. Yeah. I love hearing what like weird international media got popular in a different country. I just like, it can feel
so like right place, right time.
Right. Because I'm always like, well, what about this like very foreign thing like clicked with these people?
Right.
But sometimes it's just the novelty.
Yeah.
Inari Sue says, if you were to recommend only 2 or 3 of the things you talked about in this video, besides the real life stuff, to someone with limited time, what would you recommend?
It really depends on the person. Like, there's kind of a reason that I don't make videos that are framed as, like, you need to blank.
Yeah.
You should really blank. Because, you know, a person watching is gonna know what is gonna be for them or not in a lot of instances.
I guess, what are your top 3 things out of all the things you talked about that you give, like, the strongest, like, seal of approval to?
I mean, Doki say if you know what you're getting into. What was some of the manga that I talked about? I already can't remember what all is in that video. What did I even talk about? My God, what did I talk about in that video?
Yo, no hate.
Yeah.
No, shujo.
Yeah, God bless coffee.
God bless coffee.
No, I wouldn't say, you know, we haven't played enough. That game is kind of a travesty so far.
I was just trying to remember what you talked about in the video, and then I distinctly thought about coffee saying
struggling through. Yeah. Damn, what the fuck did I talk about in that video? You know what, I'm gonna say Ebichu.
Ebichu?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch Ebichu.
No, you shouldn't. I mean, I don't know. You should if you...
If you're fine with sex comedy, watch Ebichu.
Yeah.
Brittany Okahara says, I especially loved hearing that you read visual novels with your wife. I was wondering how exactly you do that. Do you read from the same screen when pushing buttons? Do it book club style, deciding to use the same story path? I'd love to enjoy it with my partner, just not sure of the logistics. We just cast it to the TV.
Yeah, it's honestly not a very perfect system.
I mean, it works
but it works in the end.
Usually I let Hazel be the button pusher because I'm usually a faster reader than her.
I'm dyslexic as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like when we're going through a game, I'm usually either following a route order or we'll just go through it however.
Yeah.
Pick out whoever we like.
Yeah. Yeah, and usually we just kind of read it in silence, which might be awkward for some people, but I mean, a lot of them have voice acting, so that helps.
Yeah. And then, if one of us needs to get up to do something quickly, we'll read the dialogue that the other is missing, and that's kind of that.
But you and I have sat on the couch and read books over each other's shoulders before, so we're no stranger to weirdly reading things in silence together. Kill Wolfhead says, shout out to fellow FLCL hater Alyssa. What are the other pieces of art you disagree about? / how do you navigate that disagreement? Backup question, more Yuri Rex? Run Away With Me Girl sent me. I'm crying right now. Yeah, it fucking made me cry my eyes out.
Yeah, Run Away With Me Girl is one of my favorite Yuris.
I wouldn't call... I guess I'm kind of a hater.
A fully cooly hater?
A fully cooly?
Yeah. I think functionally, within the confines of our relationship, you are, you know?
I understand why people really like it, and I totally see those merits, but just like on a baseline level, I can't enjoy it. Hazel and I usually see eye to eye on stuff. I feel like Fully Cooley is a weird outlier where we have opposite feelings about it.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like if one of us is gonna hate something, it's gonna be Hazel. And I'm usually like neutral.
Yeah. I think you're a lot better at going into kind of like big budget pop culture stuff with more of an open heart than me. I'm too much of a cynic.
I'm a cynic too, but I can just kind of like turn my brain off and be like, all right, I'm just gonna try to enjoy this normie piece of media so that I can talk to normie friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about me is that I don't really tend to go into things that I don't foresee that I'll like. So, like, I have, like, a pretty high track record with liking things, and I'm also pretty picky about what I'll recommend to Alyssa. When we're watching stuff, I think that, like, it's usually with the understanding that, I mean, I think that is also kind of the other thing about us having been together for so long, is that, like, I think even if something wouldn't normally be in the other's wheelhouse, the enthusiasm that the other carries instantly makes the other more warm to it than they would be in isolation.
Yeah, Hazel watched all of Frozen Maiden with me, and Frozen Maiden is not a very good anime.
It's great. I love it.
I really loved it when I was young, so I had like a bunch of like fun facts and anecdotes about it to tell Hazel while we were watching.
And made it so fun.
I think that made it more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yuri Rex, I've been keeping up with, I mean, still School Zone.
Yeah.
I've been keeping up with, if you want something really horny and really idiotic, I've been reading Doing XX to Interspecies Girls, I think is the title. It's just about this really funny, like, deadpan-faced but really perverted human girl going to a school of interspecies, like fantasy girls. And usually each chapter focuses on her meeting a new kind of girl and then finding some way to be a pervert about it. I've also been keeping up with... what is it called? The premise is... And I don't even think the premise is necessarily good, but I'm, like, hooked now. Like, one girl hears another girl in her class being, like, lightly homophobic, and she's like, you really think you could never fall in love with another girl? And she's like, yeah, never. And she's like, I'm rich. I'm gonna pay you, like, a zillion yen for the next year if you will be my girlfriend and do whatever I say. And if you fall in love with me by the end, you lose, and I'm not going to pay you the money.
That's so insane.
But if you don't fall in love with me, I'll give you the money.
That's completely insane.
So it's just her, like, begrudgingly going along with this girl, like, trying to forcibly seduce her, basically, and being like, no, I'm still straight. But why does she make my heart race sometimes? No, I hate her, though. It's a good enemies to friends to maybe eventually lovers that I've been keeping up with. I don't remember the title, though.
I really like what little I've read of Throw Away the Suit Together. It's about a married couple, a married lesbian couple, and one of them has just graduated like big college.
Big college?
Yeah, you know, like
masters?
Yeah, like is officially entering like the workforce in like a specialized field.
Okay.
And going through like job hunting and realizing that like all of these shitty office lady jobs are just going to be really miserable. Are like really getting her down. And so her wife is like, you know what, I have like a rich kooky aunt. Let's go live on this island that she lives on, and it's one of those things where like it's really really sweetly told, but then like every now and again there's a drawing of one of the girls' asses that's like crazy.
Yeah, Hitori Kinema was like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Shouts out to that series. I wish it had been a little more, you know?
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well.
I'm still keeping up with Does It Count If Your First Time Is With a Robot?
I've read the first few chapters of
It continues
that.
to be stupid and fun.
Yeah.
It's the lesbian chobits I desire.
Yeah. You didn't find that in Deers. You didn't find it in Chobits. At long last, you've got it.
I've been keeping up with the guy she was interested in wasn't a guy at all.
So have I.
Which is just like in tiny 4-page increments, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I love the art a lot.
It's really crazy how
really
good the
beautiful.
art is.
What else have I been reading? Dude, I'm such a fucking Yuri maniac. I read so much Yuri. It's my bedtime story. I just like open a Yuri and I go to sleep. Do I have any other new recommendations?
I don't think I do.
This isn't Yuri, but I read this really cute one-shot called, like, Hello, I'm Trans. It's like Domo nu hafu desu. And it's about a trans woman who... I don't even, like, remember the details of the story beats. I just remember that there's the detail that she loves collecting, like, not Barbies, but, like, basically Barbies because she wasn't allowed to have them as a kid. And I thought that was super cute. It was just a straightforwardly nice story.
And it was a Yuri?
I don't think it was Yuri, but she's surrounded by like other queer women who are like her friends.
Oh, you know what? I'll talk about it a bit more in a video that I'm working on, but the next video that I'll be putting out. But I read a comic called Sex at 120% that I thought was very cute.
That was fun. I need to read the second volume.
Yeah. It's only 3 volumes long, and each volume is pretty small. It's like pretty like... It's simultaneously kind of like an informational comic, kind of like what Futari Ecchi kind of propped itself up as being about sex. But then it's also still very character driven, and one of the leads is a lesbian in a relationship with a girl, and their relationship dynamic is cute.
Yeah, I need to read the rest of it. Oh, where am I? Where are we? Bibri says, Alyssa, when did you start posting art online, and do you have any funny or weird experiences of people trying to weed art out of you while growing up and posting art on the internet? Thank you for the question. Geez, I even before I started posting art on the internet, like as a young kid, I'm talking like 11, I dreamt of posting my art on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, this was before like digital art was like super duper common, or like at least easily accessible. And I don't know if I knew how to use the scanner. So I would draw comics and think like, someday I'm going to be able to post this online and it's going to be so great when I do. Like, I think I would plan out website formats in my book. I remember I had one comic that I badly wanted to make into a web comic about, like, this goth, angsty demon girl with, like, vampire bat wings. I don't know.
So cute.
Anyway,
so cute.
I like filled an entire drawer with comics, and of course I never actually managed to scan it and post it online. But unfortunately, as a result, my internet footprint is huge. Don't go looking for it. I've been posting online pretty much as soon as I could start posting. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of people just over the course of my life squeeze art out of me. I did a lot of graphic design that I should not have been doing because I don't know anything about graphic design. But it's that classic, like, oh, you do art? Like, I know someone who needs a logo. And it's like, I fucking draw anime girls with Dodge Tool shinies.
I really like how much you're subtweeting me right now.
No, you're fine.
I pulled that on you, and now we're married.
Yeah. You did pull that on me, but you wanted me to draw a picture with it too, at least.
Well, right, yeah.
Not everyone does that.
Yeah.
I think...
Keep talking, I'm gonna refill our water.
I think my funniest instance of this was a rapper asking me to make a rap logo for him. And he, like, had these elements of it that he was very particular about. Like, he wanted me to draw him with the logo, and he's like, I've got, like, this little notch in my eyebrow. That detail's really important. And I want you to incorporate my favorite pair of sneakers into the logo. And I feel like maybe he had, like, a watch that he was very particular about me drawing as well. I don't think I did a good job, but even though that was, like, about as outside of my wheelhouse as you can possibly get, I had fun doing that. My weirdest experience, and I'm going to change some details of this so as not to overly call this person out, but years and years ago, I got a request for a commission from a guy who, like, wanted me to draw him, but, like, as a particular old, like, female Disney character who I won't specify. And that was fine, but he was incredibly specific about, like, the pose in a way that wasn't explicitly perverted or anything, but, like, the specificity of it was very strange to me. I don't really know how to convey it, but it was just weird. The request was weird, and it gave me weird vibes, so I was kind of like, I don't know if this is a fetish that I just haven't learned about yet or not, but something is, like, flashing a red light at me, so I'm gonna pass up on this one. Maybe he was maybe he was totally normal and he was just awkward. Right. So, like, I'm not making fun of him at all. Right. But it at
the same time, it's like if that was something perverted, I feel like just kind of being upfront about that would have made it feel less perverted.
Right, you know? Right. Yeah. I also think I wasn't taking commissions at the time, so I was, like, extra weirded by being asked out of the blue to draw it.
Reminds me of the guy, you posted Tenchi art. You posted art of,
Yes!
I was so sad that I couldn't fucking slip this into the Tenchi video. You posted art of
Mihoshi and
Kione. And
he was like, great art. Can you draw
This is a different guy. This is a different guy.
He was like, great art. Now, can you draw them as cave women?
I want to say it was more demanding than that. It was just like, now draw them as cave women. Like, it was literally like that picture of Goku where it's like, now draw her giving birth to me.
Yeah. And then I went and looked through this guy, and his tweets were all either about sports, like, oh, the recent whatever's game was great.
Right.
Or it was him replying to random artists asking them to draw different female characters as cave women.
Yeah. Shouts out to that guy.
Shouts out to that guy. You're a fucking freak for real, but good for you.
God bless. I'll take that over the guy who, like, name searched Rainbow Dash.
Oh my god.
To tell you to kill yourself.
Yeah, and like called me all sorts of slurs because I said I don't like Rainbow Dash.
Yeah.
And I like Rarity, so they called her like a slut whore bitch, and I was just like, damn,
so true.
You're right, that's why I like her. Anyway. Burnt Ramen says, I remember you mentioning in your Lane video having played milk inside of a bag of milk inside of a bag of milk. So while on the subject of visual novels, I'm wondering if you've played its sequel, Milk Outside of a Bag of Milk.
That was on my to-play list. I own it. I got kind of burnt out on visual novels toward the end and didn't wind up playing it.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, but I really want to.
Someday. Max Cook says, I noticed you mentioned Neon White in this video. If you ended up getting to play it, I can vouch for the Switch version being pretty smooth.
Good to know.
What are your opinions, if any, on the writing of the game?
I haven't played it yet. But it's good to know that the Switch version is pretty smooth.
Yeah, ports of is it a visual novel?
No. Neon White is it's like a first-person action game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
it's by the Room of 1,000 Snakes guy.
Oh, say no more.
Yeah, I know.
Samantha Celica says, what lines of media catch you off guard and make you laugh every time you hear it, no matter what?
The two that came to mind to me instantly is, we've been watching Tokyo Mew Mew New, every time Ichigo interacts with, what is his name?
Masaya.
That's the
Yeah.
yeah. Every time those two interact, we shout the line that I used in the Tenchi video, where she's like, "No, Mark."
No, Mark! I'm not a freak! I thought you were normal, girl.
From the old 4Kids dub. And then the other thing that came to mind for me, I know that there are some that I'm forgetting, but the Sonic Heroes voice clips, all of them are really good.
Look at all those Eggman's robots.
Yeah, that Tails voice is cracked. It's crazy. Other than that, obviously it's not quite the same, but when Alyssa had me watch Made in Abyss, I laughed every single time Ozen was in frame.
She's really funny.
She's so fucking funny. I don't think she's supposed to be, but she is.
I can't tell if she's meant to be, but in my heart she is.
Yeah.
Weird, she's funny, scary lesbian.
Yeah.
What makes me laugh? I feel like I have a million different, like, echolalias that are just...
Yeah, I feel like there are so many, like, smaller ones that just aren't coming to me. I like, racked my brain while I was assembling these questions so that I would have something, and those are the two that came to mind first, so...
those are good ones.
Yeah.
Larva Puppy says, do you have any recommendations for people wanting to try out visual novels? I've never read or played any, and I would like to try. It doesn't necessarily need to be an eroge.
I wouldn't recommend an eroge going in.
No, definitely not. Again, it depends on the person. Like, what kind of game do you want to play? Do you want to play, like, an otome, a bishoujo game? Do you want to play, like, a more general plot-focused visual novel? I know people will burn me at the stake for calling these visual novels in the first place, but I think a lot of people, like, kind of consider Phoenix Wright games, like, their first, like, toe dip into enjoying the visual novel format.
Yeah, and then, like, if we're talking about people who aren't geriatric like us, that's Danganronpa.
Yeah, and Danganronpa. I don't know if I would recommend Danganronpa to someone who's never played visual novels. Phoenix Wright's way more accessible. Just in a general sense.
I think that Danganronpa, if you're familiar enough with anime tropes in general, I think you can go into it as a first and be okay.
Yeah.
Like, the style goes a really long way for that game, I feel like.
There's also just, like, a lot of good short indie visual novel games out there. A lot of them for free. I would just browse the itch.io visual novel tag and see what catches your fancy.
Yeah, I'm definitely not precious about any sort of idea that, like, you should start with, like, a Japanese visual novel. Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, if anything, I feel like people don't recommend indie Western visual novels enough. Like, there's a lot of really good ones.
I mean, let me put it to you this way. If you're somebody who likes metatextual stories and you really want something that is almost single-mindedly about trying to... I shouldn't say that, because that sounds pejorative. If you want a game that is very preoccupied with convincing a player of the merit that visual novels have uniquely as a medium, I genuinely would recommend Doki Doki Literature Club.
See, I know so many people who strongly disagree with that, which is weird.
I know. And I get it. But I think that in a lot of instances kind of comes down to, I think a lot of the... I think it just kind of depends on how you read that game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that it's really easy to read that game in bad faith, and I think that there are a lot of, understandable reasons as far as, like, other attempts at doing what it's done to assume bad faith. But I've played a lot of visual novels, Western and Eastern. I feel pretty...
I think a lot of people just get bogged down by the reception Doki Doki Literature Club got of everyone hyping it up to be this thing that nobody's ever done before.
Right, yeah.
I think if you just take it as it is, it's a whole lot less pretentious than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it was ever trying to position itself as being anything more than it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to play favorites and just recommend games that my friends have made, but, it's not finished yet, but I'm always trying to get people to play The Head Well Lost because I think it's a fucking fantastic game. It's well written, it's well formatted. Laura does a lot of really interesting stuff with just formatting the text in a way that helps prevent reading burnout.
Right.
So I think if you're new to the reading genre, that's a good go-to.
Yeah.
Studio Elan games in general, and Laura isn't Studio Elan, but they're kind of adjacent to my Elan friends, all do a lot of really interesting things with text format to prevent reading burnout, which I think is a very real thing, even if you love visual novels.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people always say, oh, Katsuo Shoujo hasn't aged well. Genuinely, I think the realm where it's aged the worst is that you get half a paragraph per click.
Oh, per text box.
Per text box, yeah.
Yeah, do you prefer less text?
I do. I tend to prefer just about a sentence per.
Yeah, me
I think
too.
It's a lot easier to just kind of keep that perpetual motion.
Yeah, something
going.
about getting confronted with a big wall of text, even if it's all a cohesive thought,
right,
turns me off from reading it.
Yeah.
Idiot brain moments. Anyway, I don't know if any of those recommendations are very good. If you are on YouTube, because I usually read the Q&A comments and try to reply to additional comments and stuff we said, comment on this video and say what kind of stuff you like, and I guarantee I'll have a visual novel recommendation more specific to you.
Yeah.
Anyone can do that, not just this person. I like to recommend visual novels. Seth says, I'm curious, you mentioned that you have played most of the Toho games. Which of these games do you like the most, and do you have a favorite character?
I definitely haven't played most of them. I'd played the PC 98 ones before, and then went through and played them all to completion for that video. I've played a lot of smatterings of other ones. I want to say the first fighting game is 7.5. I really like that one. Because the mechanics are fucking insane and the sprites are really cute. I feel like I'm not really equipped enough to have a really in-depth Toho opinion when it comes to the bullet hell stuff, just because I'm not as versed in that realm as I could be. When I got into bullet hell, it was through fucking
Undertale.
No. God, no. That made it sound like I don't like Undertale. That's not true. No. I like Undertale, but
that was my impression of a Zoomer who hasn't
you're right.
experienced bullet hells before.
Yeah. It was cave shooters, Ikaruga, and then I always forget it's got a really incomprehensible name, a nonsense name. Did some bullet hell games that were on the PS3 store. I can't remember the developer's name.
I've barely played Toho, and I don't know that much about the characters, but I like Flander.
Right, I forgot that favorite character was part of it.
Yeah. You like Suika, right?
Yeah, she's my favorite.
Yeah, she's a good pick.
Yeah.
I like Flander because she looks like Marks from Kirby.
She does. I like Suika because she's an alcoholic.
James says, recently I started collecting anime art books and was wondering if you have any recommendations. Could be from any artist, any show, or manga.
Honestly, I don't know if you have a book off near you or anything like that, but I really would recommend just trying to browse art books of artists or shows or whatever that you're not familiar with. I find that I can be really inspired and excited by that sort of thing because I'm not familiar with the source material. It kind of has this air of the art that you're seeing kind of allows your mind to wander, and that can be really exciting. I think that's kind of the main thing for me. I think what are the names of the books where you open it up and it's usually just a lot of screenshots from the show proper?
Oh, that's disappointing.
Fan
so
books
much.
Yeah. I would say to kind of stay away from those if you can start to develop a sense for what they look like.
Yeah, there's not a lot of original art in those.
Yeah. We have a lot of art books at this point.
Yeah, I mostly collect art from artists I already know and like.
Yeah.
But I love art books. I just like sitting down and looking at them.
Yeah, yeah.
Lucy Sumrus says, "Hi, Hazel and Alyssa. First time posting a question, so please forgive my prattling. You're fine. You've mentioned sound engineering experience prior to YouTube. How much would you say that comes up in your work? For example, how much post-processing is done on the narration track? Is there any essential knowledge someone looking to make their own audio/visual content should have?"
No, I think you should just make the thing. I think that getting bogged down with the audio side of things beyond making it legible is diminishing returns. And I think that like over compressing is just as much of a curse as under compressing. You know, a lot of people get mad at me for not removing the breaths from my vocals, my narration. I think that's kind of like the most obvious sign that I do have a background in recording music for people. It's like you don't cut out the breathing in rock music. That's a silly thing to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a very pop music thing to do.
Yeah. And that's just not where my background lies.
It's like, if you don't want to hear me breathing, use a Vocaloid, bitch.
Yeah. But you know, I know a lot of people will cut the breaths out of theirs. I don't really like doing it. I think it's a lot of extra work to make it sound less personable and kind of more robotic.
Yeah, it can make it sound choppy, too.
Yeah. The only post-processing that I do to my narration is I have a preset of a small handful of plugins that I've been using for years that really gradually I'll tweak and resave as my setup changes and as the acoustics in a room I'm in are different, but very, very slightly. It's very slight. I really try not to overproduce my narration just because I don't really think it benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a big video person, considering I've only ever posted one narrated video, but I just make sure everything's audible and nothing's peaking. Like, I can't stand how many popular YouTubers let their audio, like, peak really bad. But I assume you're not going to do any yelling or screaming in your videos, so
right.
That's probably not going to be a problem.
Yeah,
just make sure stuff's audible. Make sure that the important things can be heard.
Turn the background music down a bit lower than you think is necessary.
Yeah.
That was a mistake that took me a long time to get used to.
Me too. Seb asks, who's the worst girl in Tokimeki Memorial?
I think Yukari is the boringest. I think Megumi's design is dog shit, and I get like a visceral yuck response from Yumi's like, oh, she's like childish, so she likes anime.
I don't remember any of the girls.
I had to look them up after the fact. I couldn't remember.
I can't answer that.
I also have a knee-jerk reaction against Shiori. People prop her up like she's this like visual novel golden child. I don't know. Maybe if the fucking side visual novels get translated someday, I'll play those.
I've heard everyone say, that everything after the first one's better.
Yeah, and I believe it, but I don't think that first game is
anything to write home
about.
Yeah.
I think that I'm doing the fucking Evangelion thing. I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, there are so many things that have done what it did better. It just happened to scrub away the unsavory parts. I sound so damn pretentious.
You're fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine to see something and be like, I know that this was important and unique when it came out, but it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Other things have done it better. Rapboy says, I was wondering if you had any anime/film theory recs apart from House of Psychotic Women.
A lot of the film theory that I've read, I largely either really disagree with or find is very overwrought in a way that has been productive in the sense that it's further crystallized my own opinions and my own values about art. But I wouldn't necessarily say that they like informed it in the sense of like, how salient. Outside of the House of Psychotic Women, that's why that's such a fundamental text to me, is because it feels so, I don't know, unpretentious, I know the word pretentious doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it feels very unconcerned with, like, I don't know. pretensions. I don't know. Like, I've talked about Pauline Kael in a few videos in the past, and something that I like about her is that I almost never agree with her. I think she can be really annoying and dismissive, but I also respect that about her, and I think that there's a lot of value there regardless. As far as anime goes, I'm honestly still kind of trying to develop a kind of broader pocket of influence when it comes to books. But so far, I can say that pretty much everything by Patrick W. Galbraith in the anime realm has been kind of hits only for me. The Moe Manifesto is a book that I've been evangelizing since I finished reading it. It's predominantly just a collection of interviews about Moe, and I think it's really tremendous. And then he also has a book that came out a few years ago called Otaku and the Struggle for Imagination in Japan. I've read the introduction to that book so far. I'd like to get through the rest of it, but it seems great. I really appreciate that he kind of takes the sort of open-hearted approach that somebody like Saito Tamaki takes in viewing otaku and kind of takes it to the next level and argues that there are ways in which what he kind of refers to as like otaku love is like genuinely uniquely radical within the society that it cropped up in. So those are some that I recommend. I also talked about it in my Aiken video, but I do really like the History of Hentai Manga by Kimi Riso. I think that book is excellent. I need to read that one. It's great. They're selling it at the fucking Kinokuniya near us now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I felt a surge of pride in my breast when I saw that.
I need to fucking read the Yuri book you got too.
It's right there.
I know, I need to read it. I'm stupid though, I don't read. Just kidding.
I'll just read it to you before bed.
Yay. Villain in Glasses says, as I write this, I'm currently in the process of packing up my own stuff to move into my first apartment. Congratulations! So I can partially relate to the drudgery of the whole process. Hazel, early on in the video and in the beginning of the return episode of Pod Spirit, you mentioned using this break to brush up on the fundamentals of learning and research. How has your research/learning process changed or been refined compared to your earlier attempts? Any tips and tricks for someone out of practice in the ways of research? I'm 2 years out of university and a lot of my prior knowledge a matter of hard research has seemingly atrophied. Thank you kindly for your time. Hope you two have a lovely day. Sincerely, Caleb.
Initially in my like really early videos, and just like my early researching endeavors, a lot of it would start at going to Wikipedia and then looking at their sources and looking for the information in those sources that were not brought up. That's obviously very incomplete, and I was doing more than just that at the time, but that was usually my springboard. So say, I would go to a Wikipedia page for whatever I'm talking about. I would find an interview with the author, and the author would mention like another author that they studied under, and then I'd go and look at them, and I'd see where that takes me. I still do some of that, but I don't tend to start with Wikipedia sources because I tend to just kind of know how to find those sources separately. So a lot of it is just kind of like Google searching a kind of set list of phrases with the title of the thing, the author, director, whatever. And lately what I've been getting into the habit of doing is just importing magazines that have interviews and stuff like that, because so little of that is documented in the Japanese-speaking internet and the English-speaking internet. There's just kind of not a lot of immediate documentation, even though a lot of that stuff is pennies cheap. So I've been getting into the habit of doing that. Obviously, that's something that I can do now that I have a budget for this channel. But generally speaking, developing a sense for how to fact check things, how to dig hard enough to find where certain things, certain ideas or certain facts were first perpetuated. Just kind of getting deeper to the core of things, using Google's like search within date ranges feature. There are a lot of things like that it just kind of, it really depends on the subject and what I'm trying to get out of it. Like when I worked on the Mina Agechao video, a lot of that video's research was triple checking various misspellings of that title and its potential translations to make sure that I had found as much of it as I could. A lot of it was, digging through old news groups and uh, just kind of poking around at the people whose names came up and to see what they're doing now and to see how credible they were or weren't. And then in addition to that, it was, uh, finding the original manga and skimming through it, even though I knew that I couldn't read it, just to see what I could glean from there. A lot of it is just kind of testing the waters and being comfortable when something doesn't turn up any leads or anything that's especially worth bringing up. I think I used to be a lot more precious with kind of only going down paths that seemed fruitful. And now that I have more time to work on videos, I don't find myself being nearly so stingy. Yeah. It's also the kind of thing where, like, the more research you do for videos, the easier future ones get. Or not just videos, obviously. There are a lot of different projects that
you build up a knowledge base.
Yeah, you build up a knowledge base to the point where things that seemed like they were going to take a lot of research when I first conceptualized them as videos, now that I'm taking the steps to actually sit down and work on them, a lot of it is just stuff that I know now. So, yeah, there's a lot of different avenues. But
nice. I have nothing to contribute. Leaf Blady says, your love of Ruri Dragon made me curious if you have seen/read Machikado Mazoku. I've heard a lot of comparisons between the two, so I was just curious.
I haven't. It looks cute, though.
Norty says, what language tools, if any, do you use when playing games in Japanese under emulation? Thinking of stuff like quick dictionary access and such.
A lot of the stuff that I played for that video, if it was in Japanese, I just kind of played it without necessarily immediately understanding it. But generally speaking, there are OCR tools that use DeepL that I know that people are it's very controversial, but when it comes to feeling things out, I tend to go for that with games and things like that, just because there's not necessarily always another option immediately. Yeah, it kind of just depends. I do get a lot of mileage out of just like holding my phone up to my computer screen and scanning with the Google Translate like lens.
Yeah, that's always it's a hit and a miss.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you're like, okay, wow, that's like really helpful.
Yeah.
Other times you're like, what the
It's just absolute fucking gibberish. Yeah.
It's a little hit and miss. Tim Cat says, have you ever had to work past ideas about what good art is and what kinds of art are worth engaging with imposed by other people in society, especially considering your focus on Japanese games and anime? Thanks.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that was kind of a lot of my early 20s, was just getting more and more disillusioned with a lot of the ideas that like online discourse had about like artistic merit and artistic value. Like I needed to grab some footage from a game for a video. I can't remember which. And I realized that the footage that I had captured had voiceover, because at the time I was streaming it. And it was the Dreamcast port of Kanon. And this was not even that long ago, but in it, like, I said some very dismissive things about it that was fundamentally like a story that I hadn't engaged with yet. because I had just developed that idea of it through osmosis, and it took until I actually sat down and watched it and confirmed my own opinions of it that I realized that I just actually didn't like it, but for ways that were more nuanced than people say it's bad. I like the other key games, so it's fine that I don't like Kana. It's fine, I'll live. But yeah, I think that in general, I whenever I do kind of bump into something that kind of shakes my fundamental views of art, you get something like my Aiken video. So it doesn't tend to happen super often. I think I'm pretty confident in how I view art and its value.
Kai V says, "Oh, I'm glad you played the game based on Poor Island, besides Persona 3. Our claims to fame."
I didn't realize that Portopia and Persona 3 were both based on the same place. That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
TK says, "Did you watch Record of..." Okay, this is bullet pointed, so I'm just going to ask them one at a time. You can answer them all. Did you watch Record of Lodoss War for more context on the Metroidvania?
I technically did, yeah. I wanted to play it, and I was like, I don't know how much story is going to be in this game, so I don't know how much sense this is going to make. I know that Lodoss War is important. I should watch it anyway, even though I don't really like fantasy. It was 13 incredibly beautifully animated episodes. I watched it while I was packing. It was a serviceable time.
Are there any spices or dishes that are either of your culinary white whales? I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't really think so these days. I think I've kind of cooked everything that I've like really wanted to try. I'm also not like super adventurous compared to like certain friends of ours who cook. I'm not nearly as like.
I like the same thing for breakfast and lunch every single day. I love repetition.
Yeah, like I think I'm the kind of person who enjoys getting good at cooking the things that I cook rather than kind of cooking like a wider variety of things, just because I'm not one of those people that can just do a great job the first time they make something without fail.
With what you said about Nope, do you have any other piece of Western media that strike your agrarian vibes? I can't think of any.
I'm sure there are plenty. I similarly really like the environments in Three Women. It's kind of a similar part of California. And it's not even the part that I grew up in, so I think I just kind of like it like because I like it. But yeah, I find that like what I tend to be more drawn to in Western media are like stories about like cities. I don't know.
Daft Punk's Electroma is the greatest travel movie of all time.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, I love the way that movie looks.
It's a whole bunch of weird Californian deserts.
I don't think I knew that it was all filmed in California.
I think most of it.
I believe it.
I knew a person who made like a pilgrimage to all the locations they could recognize.
Nice.
And then the last question, more of an odd recommendation than a question. I found this originally on VHS in my closing local Blockbuster in the aughts. But there was this odd Canadian indie film called Tokyo Cowboy from 1994 about a Japanese guy who's kind of hitting a dead end in life in Japan and is obsessed with cowboys. So he decides to track down his childhood pen pal from Canada who was a cowgirl as a kid. He gets there and it turns out she is now a non-cowgirl artist and a lesbian, and things continue in a slightly uncomfortable culture clash that ends on a bittersweet note.
Sounds fucking great.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. That sounds great.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. That sounds like it's either like a hidden 5-star gem or it's like the most solid 3-star film ever made.
Yeah. Either way, that sounds great.
Yeah, it seems really great.
Robbo, not Robo, says, I just wanted to know how you dealt with burnout from gaming media consumption itself. Just a problem I've been having of not being able to muster up the energy for new/old games in my collection despite wanting to play a video game. Also, have you gotten back to Grandia?
So Serenity Venus also wanted to know if I'd gotten back to Grandia.
Right.
Have not. I really would like to, but I just haven't. I've been busy with other stuff. Which, all the more to that point, like, sometimes you just gotta do other stuff if it's not really clicking for you.
I go long periods of not interacting with a type of media before I'm, like, hungry for it again.
Like, I haven't been reading pretty much any manga lately. I'm just kind of waiting for that spark to hit me again.
Yeah, I mean, like, I went, like, a few years where I just straight up didn't watch anime.
Right.
I just didn't feel driven to. Like, and I did that with video games as well. Like, I'll go long periods where I don't touch video games.
Yeah.
So. Nothing wrong with it. It's good to have a healthy diet of other kinds of media.
Yeah.
Nama says, what is your favorite summertime snack/food? Ice cream.
Honestly,
ice cream.
I really appreciate, like, cold noodle dishes. I'm developing more and more of a fondness for those.
I love
to eat the Sichuan noodles that I mentioned earlier.
I like to eat hot noodles on a hot day.
No, you're insane.
Yeah, then you feel cool afterwards. No, because you got all hot.
No, it makes that kind of thing makes me, like, really sweaty in that particular way that just, like, I can't, like, it's like I become a perpetual motion machine.
Hazel bathes more than any other person I've ever met, I feel like.
Really?
Especially when she gets sweaty in the summer. Like, you bathe, like, every day.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
Sometimes twice a day in the summer.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just hate it, I've always been the kind of person that sweats easily. It's one of the reasons we fucking moved up here was to get out of the heat, because it's unbearable to me. It's like, it makes me feel like I'm gonna fucking die.
I have a fondness especially for, like, fruit popsicles. As a kid in the summer, I would, like, pour fruit juice into the ice cube tray with, like, little toothpicks and make myself little cold treats that way.
Yeah.
Ed Yoshi says, I hope to do YouTube full-time someday, but until then I'm working a full-time job. Since starting said job, I've realized I haven't really been consuming any media except for YouTube videos. So my question is, how do you go about finding time to watch or play the stuff you want? Like, just in your anime section alone, you watched more anime in the summer than I have in 2 years.
Obviously, I really love YouTube. I've gotten into the habit of basically only watching it when it's Alyssa and I sitting down with a video that we think is going to be really interesting, or while I'm cooking. I really...
I think this of all creative fields, it's dangerous to consume too much of your peers' work.
Yeah, I really don't want to come off as though I'm, like, secretly criticizing anybody in particular, because I'm not. But I definitely have seen a few instances where I see certain new YouTubers kind of exclusively talk about things in terms of other YouTube videos or like things that I know that other YouTube video people have made videos about, and it always hits me in this weird kind of, like, I don't know, like, I personally, I feel kind of uncomfortable if I'm just engaging with the sorts of things that I'm doing. I think that it can feel kind of like incestuous in a way.
The pool of influences gets small really fast if you do that. So it's best just to, I mean, it's good to be aware of what your peers are doing, but to do your own thing, to consume a wider pool of knowledge, so that you don't get tunnel visioned into thinking about things in a very predetermined way. Like I said, I feel that way about all kinds of media. Like, don't only listen to fucking video game music if you want to make chiptune. Like, you need to have an appreciation for different kinds of music. And, don't, everyone hates being told this, but as an adult, I understand the merits of being told, like, don't just draw anime if you want to draw anime. Like, what is going on?
What is that sound?
I think it was just me bumping against this. It's fine. Just broaden your horizons. Obviously, like, when you're working, a condensed version of media is easier to consume, which is why people watch YouTube videos. I mean,
Yeah.
I watch a lot of YouTube when I'm working, so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to sit down and give my attention to really anything else. But
yeah, it's hard because, like, I really like YouTube as a medium, and I obviously really love a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of YouTube videos, but I do kind of have to find that I need to, unfortunately, treat it as less of a priority. Like, I feel like I've kind of spent enough time in that field to know that what I'm doing is, you know, as contemporary or as XYZ as I want it to be in that field.
I feel like a lot of people are daunted by how much media Hazel consumes, and one thing that everyone needs to keep in mind is that, like, Hazel's very dedicated to learning for this job and, like, doing the best that she possibly can.
I don't really think that you need to do this unless you are doing it, like, full time.
Yeah. Like, she certainly did not watch and consume this many things when she wasn't a YouTuber, but now that she is, she's trying really hard to make sure that she has, like, a wide breadth of knowledge.
And again, it's really something that doesn't even necessarily come naturally to me. Like, again, if I was doing something else, if I was doing music full time or something, I definitely wouldn't feel this need to consume that much. I think I would be a lot more comfortable engaging with things on a surface level and just kind of getting what I want to get out of them.
There's nothing wrong with
it can be, like, I know it sounds silly, but it can be kind of exhausting at times to be, like, on in my media consumption habits all the time. And that's why, like, you know, the conclusion to me isn't necessarily to find things that I can engage with that don't feel like work, quote unquote. Because I like viewing media in that way. The solution for me is to find things that I like doing that aren't that. Like, that's why I like cooking. It's why I like making music, you know?
Spice it up.
Yeah.
Inoze says, I was wondering, since you watched Ultra Q, if you have any interest in other Toku shows and if you ever plan to make a video about it.
I definitely want to watch Ultraman and Ultra 7 and Return of Ultraman. I have some friends who've mentioned wanting to prepare, like, an episode list for me, which sounds great. I don't really feel like I need to see every episode of those. And then I want to see some of the original Kamen Rider as well, and that's kind of it for now. I would really like to see Garo as well. That's kind of the extent of it.
They said, I started watching Tokusatsu last year, starting with Ultraman. It's been such a blast. It has changed the way I see Japanese media, and I think Western otaku spheres sometimes misunderstand or ignore the huge influence it has on manga and anime. Absolutely. It's like the JoJo reference meme, but actually real lol. Also, did you know that Chiaki J. Konaka developed and was a main writer for Ultraman Gaia? Wild stuff.
I did know that. He was also supposed to write the third Heisei Gamera movie, and I think his treatment just wasn't picked up, and he went and he redeveloped those ideas into Digimon Tamers.
Delilah Deckert says, you recently watched Trigun, so the big question is, who do you think the biggest himbo is, Vash or Wolfwood?
Vash, for sure.
Ronoko says, have you read Dun Da Dun? It's also in Jump Plus, and I picked it up recently after a rave review from a certain YouTuber that came with tweets from several mangaka. And Deso's Prophet also asked about Dun Da Dun.
I've read a little bit of it. I talked about it briefly in an older episode of Pod Spirit. I really liked what I read. I just kind of fell off of it. I just sort of wasn't in the mood for it at the time, and I haven't really felt too driven to pick it back up.
I'm not reading any Jump except Chainsaw Man. Blogbori says, if you could adapt any 1990s sitcom into an existentialist mech anime, which would it be?
I'm gonna say The Nanny. I think that would be really good. I think it would kind of bring out more of some of my favorite the quieter moments of Eva, where it's just Misato trying and failing to raise two children that aren't hers.
I'm gonna say Malcolm in the Middle, and I'm not going to explain.
I like that. Yeah, get in the damn middle, Malcolm. It's so fucking stupid. It's the stupidest thing I've ever said.
Kyle J. Javelli says, Howdy, Hazel and Alyssa. It's good to see you back. I recently had an anime night where me and 2 others watched Millennium Actress, Dragon's Heaven, and topped it off with Kite. I had forgotten what made it so adult. We were surprised but okay with the content.
That's a good thing.
And had some
surprise.
Really interesting conversations the following days. My question is this: when you are seeking out transgressive media, what sort of context makes some graphic subjects more palatable than others? For example, I've literally had to turn off episodes of Love, Death, and Robots from minor gore or metaphorical assault, yet Kite just captured all of us despite having way more violence and sex.
Honestly, sorry, I don't mean to keep putting that so far away from you.
My wife doesn't want me to be hydrated.
No, it's not true. I think that just kind of knowing that it's a transgressive piece of media going in is enough for me. I think that knowing that, it's kind of an anything goes scenario is enough. I find that the things that catch me off guard and upset me are the things that feel like they're coming from out of the tone of the rest of the media. Like, obviously, like, I've seen Kite several times, and it just is a work that I just kind of implicitly understand, despite it being really horrible and grim and edgy. But also, like... There's a scene in an early episode of Kare Kano where a child is slapped in the face, and it comes so out of nowhere that it, like, really, really upset me.
Aww.
Like, I was not, it was not something that I expected. It was, like, a very harsh, sudden cut that didn't feel like it was something that a work like that would have just done. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of context, you kind of reach a point where you can understand what a work's tone is going to be and what is and isn't going to be on the table just based on looking at it long enough, or just by having a deep enough pool of what you've seen and what that you can kind of compare it against other stuff.
Yeah, it's so situational for me because I'm the same about gore, where like certain kinds of gore like are really hard for me, but other times I'm like, yeah, this is fine.
What do you feel like makes that difference for you?
I think a lot of it just depends on how I feel about the characters and what my expectations for their well-being are. Right. So like we watched Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which has a lot of kind of hard to watch scenes of violence, like of people getting like tortured or like unsuccessfully committing harakiri, but it's a war movie, so I don't go in with the expectation that anyone's getting out of that okay. right. Whereas like seeing a child get slapped in something where I wasn't expecting,
a romantic comedy,
I could definitely see that like upsetting me too if I had seen it. It's hard for me to really pinpoint it, but it also just depends on like the genre of violence. Like certain kinds of guts can be hard unless they're like so cartoonishly guts that like it doesn't bother right. It just depends on so many things.
Definitely.
But like I don't know, in the rebuilds it was hard for me to see Shinji vomit. Vomit's always a hard one for me, which I know isn't like gore, but it's
like the 2 rebuilds prior, the episode 18 fight with Asuka is that is so genuinely horrific, but I wouldn't say it like upsets me due to its context and due to its content, and does more so for its context. I think that's kind of the but in those instances, like that's kind of what I'm going into it for.
Sure. I mean, you expect that.
And like that's kind of part of the draw, is that it's a work that has enough teeth to show me something that is going to be upsetting.
I think I've said before that like it's really funny that stories about childhood trauma really trigger me, but also some of my absolute favorite media is about childhood trauma.
Right.
Like because it's sensitive it's also impactful to me, and that's a delicate line to.
This is brought to you by us getting ready to go see Only Yesterday in the theater in a few hours.
Ready to fucking cry my eyes out again.
Yeah.
Nicolette says, my question is, have you seen the one-shot manga that's included inside the manual of Metal Slater Glory? And if so, what were your thoughts on it? And just the concept of having a manga as an introduction to a video game universe built in.
I feel so stupid for not talking about it in the video because that is something I really loved about it. I don't know how Yoshimitsu got nipples in there. I don't know how that was allowed. That guy's a fucking mad genius. Mad perverted genius. It's insane.
Yeah, I miss the days of instruction manuals almost kind of being a part of the video game experience and not just an
Shouts out to WarioWare. Shouts out to the first WarioWare's manual.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, one thing I think about is the Diddy Kong Racing instruction manual had, like, really in-depth profiles for all these characters you otherwise had, like, kind of no context for aside from Diddy Kong and Banjo, I guess. Yeah, I miss those times. Flan says, after watching the first season of Sailor Moon, who did you think you'd liked the best before going into it, and who ended up being your favorite character in the end?
I thought I was really gonna like Rei, because I think I liked her design the most at first. It really proved to me how little I knew about those characters going in. I wound up really liking Makoto, though. I think she's my favorite.
Yeah, Makoto's the Goto.
Yeah, so true. I do really think that Rei's romance with the kind of schlubby shrine boy is super cute, though.
Also, you mentioned Ebichu sharing Misato's voice actress, but Kotono Mitsuishi actually voices Usagi as well.
I did know that.
Apparently she was a giant fan of the manga and basically petitioned for herself to voice the hamster in the anime.
I haven't been able to find a source for that quote. I
hope it's true.
I really want it to be true, but I haven't been able to find a source, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those things that seems like almost too good to be true. Like, I don't know. I need to dig into it a little bit more.
Penny Vath says, since you love the Eve remake so much, are there any other old RPG Maker games you want to have a remake? Hard mode, no Rekinder.
Rekinder's already a remake. I don't think I'm really itching for it to get another one. I don't really know. Like, I think the only reason why you'd wound up benefiting from a remake is just because it made it more immediately accessible.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the appeal of an Eve remake was that, like, that's genuinely probably, like, out of the old guard, like, popular RPG Maker games, Eve is probably the one that had the characters I cared the most about. Yeah. So getting a little bit of new dialogue from, like, Gary and Mary was, like, really great fan service. Yeah. I don't know if I feel that way about any other old RPG Makers. Yeah. Like, oh, I desperately need to hear more about one of the bitches in Mermaid Swamp. Like, I'm good. Yeah. I think those games are still fine in the form that they exist, so I don't think I have any particular remakes I want. Sega Man says, I was wondering what some of your favorite Western games are. Also, what speech-to-text program were you using for some of the titles in your video?
I want to say it was just called Read the Words. Favorite Western games? Oh god, I meant to think about this ahead of time. Oops. I really love Undertale. I know that's kind of an obvious one. Like, who doesn't? I like Deltarune even more so far. I really, really love Night in the Woods. I think that's probably one of my favorite games, period.
I really loved A Short Hike.
Oh, I haven't played that.
It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's the exact type of game I want more of, where it's just got, like, a really particular vibe, and it just lets you sit in it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think most of my favorite Western games are in the, like, indie sphere. I don't think I really love too many, like, big Western games.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I do, but I don't know that I do.
The original Deus Ex seems cool. I think I could see myself enjoying that.
Yeah, it's mostly indie games for me.
Yeah.
Bimmy says, "Hi Hazel and Alyssa. Is there a cozy game that you like to just move around in?" Oh, I just gave a good answer. I guess an example for me is Mario Sunshine. I fucking love Mario Sunshine.
Yeah.
That's like half of why that's one of my favorite Mario games. It's just fun to be in it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I just really like moving around.
Yeah, play a short hike. It's a great game. It's really, really sweet. Just while I'm thinking about the big pack of indie games that I bought it with, Hazel and I also played Tori and Tori.
Oh yeah, those games feel so good.
Spelled Toree.
Yeah, I love the way those games feel.
Yeah, they're really fun to play. There's some really good, like, I think there's a level maybe in the second Tori that's kind of formatted almost like a what do you call it? Like with pools.
Like a water park.
Like a water park, yeah. Yeah, the water park one's fucking great. That's my mind palace.
Yeah, building up the sense of speed in it feels really good. And then just like the levels are really cute. I really hope that there's a third one and it's 1,000,000 levels long.
Katsune says, "Hello. I was wondering if you or your wife has tried the visual novel called Corpse Factory, since you two seem to be into the kind of goth 2000s internet vibe. It's a new game, but the premise reminds me of a creepypasta from the 2000s, because you play as a girl who takes joy in dressing up corpses and delivering to people who had their name written on a website." I've never heard of that.
How like cartoon edgy that premise is.
I'll look into it.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Bowen says, "How do you know if you're at the point where you're done with your research for a specific video? I feel like I've been struggling on finding a stopping point with researching stuff for projects. I keep putting off actually compiling on my research because I end up feeling like there are always more tangentially related topics I could learn about. So I was curious if you have any insight on to know when you're done, or at least done enough to compile it to a video and share it."
Honestly, like... This is kind of the eternal struggle. Earlier videos, I would just reach a point where I felt like I knew everything I needed to go in with a thesis. I don't really go in with a thesis these days very much, or if I do, I want to allow myself to be able to say more than just one thing. I think that there are certain subjects that just have like a fairly shallow pool. You kind of get to the bottom of what you're looking at and you go, okay, cool, I've like there's kind of nothing more here. Obviously there always is more, but it kind of becomes diminishing returns at a certain point. But then there are other subjects that are very broad and very difficult to research, and those it's a lot harder. I don't know that I necessarily have a very good answer for how to stop something when it's like really, really wide. I guess again, like if you find yourself losing interest in it and you feel like you know the things that you need to know to say what you're trying to say, that's fine. You know, you'd be surprised how you can kind of weave in additional research that may come up later into future projects.
I think it's also always okay to put a pin in a thought and say, like, there's more I could say about this, but maybe in a future video or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, leave those doors open for you. And it's okay to be humble about the fact that, like, I don't, like, know as much about this particular facet of something. Maybe I'll learn more about it in the future.
Yeah, like one thing that I would really like to, like, it's one of those things where now that I know, I really wish that I could fix it, is like I talk about Yamebo, like it's this like very confusing, very like difficult to grasp thing, but like since I've been importing more manga and anime magazines, I'm like, oh shit, like it's all over these at the turn of the century. Like this is not an obscure thing.
Yeah, no, people loved Yamibo, it seems.
Yeah, or if nothing else, the publisher really believed in it. Like some of the manga was published in Comptique alongside like the early chapters of Lucky Star. It was around for like a long time. And that's stuff that I maybe would have found if I had just continued to dig about it, or maybe it's stuff that really only would have become apparent to me over the course of learning about other things and seeing all the ways in which they connect. I'm working on a video right now where I keep randomly finding Hikaru Yuzuki's work in random places in the same magazines or in the same like interviews or whatever. that I'm reading for this other totally unrelated video. And it's like, well, hey, now I've, again, like we were saying earlier, I've just kind of continued to build up a repertoire, a database.
Where are we? There we are. Madeline Knappenberger says, have you ever / do you think you'd ever run a panel at SakuraCon? It's also my home con, and I think your videos would translate really well into that format.
No. I'm sorry. I always feel like such a Debbie Downer when I answer these kinds of questions, but I get them a lot. I would rather just make a video, be able to make it fully on my own terms and not have to think about changing up my format.
For a live setting.
Yeah, and I don't really like the idea of doing a Q&A live. I don't think my answers would be very interesting, and I think that it...
I feel like I've said this before in our Q&As, but Hazel and I are so funny because Hazel's such a shy person. Meanwhile, as a teen, I literally dreamed of doing a Q&A panel at an anime con.
Yeah.
I love to be the center of attention. No, that's not true. I'm also
I mean,
shy.
it's like, it's not even that I'm, like, against the idea of, like, being in front of a crowd. It's something that I have done plenty. I'm not uncomfortable with it. I used to play shows, but it's more so just that I feel a little awkward from the perspective of, like, I don't know, like, I want people to have to fucking, like, trek out to this convention to see me when they could just do it on their own time at home. Like, I don't know. I know this will sound very shrewd, but it's like, why would I do this for the con's benefit? And, like, they're not going to pay me. I can just do a YouTube video on the same thing. And, again, have more control over it and have more fun with the final result.
I mean, I think if you ever got invited to be a guest at a con, what would be more fun than trying to find a way to do your videos as a con panel would just be to do something else entirely.
Right. Yeah, and I've tried to think about that, like, what would I do? But I don't really want to.
Play all of Umineko live on the stage.
Yeah, just do one of those, like, insane 4-hour speedruns where they just
read
hit the
all
skip
of
button the entire
Fazbear
time.
Fights with me live on the stage.
Yeah, I feel like it would have to be something kind of like I'd say the panel is about one thing and then you'd get there and it's like, surprise bitch, we're talking about this now. But I don't know, I'm not even really all that interested in attending SakuraCon just as an attendee. I feel like I've kind of got my fill of cons. I kind of know what cons are like these days, and I'm not super interested in what they're like these days.
I miss cons. I want to cosplay again. I want to be where the people are. Hunter A says, since the Saban Moon pilot has emerged and you talked about finally watching Sailor Moon for the first time, got me thinking about the way that I first saw Sailor Moon, which was the DVD of the live-action drama I found at a thrift store as a kid. Are there any live-action adaptations that you think have actually done justice to their source material? I haven't returned to the Sailor Moon drama since childhood, but I remember it being extremely earnest, even if it wasn't as good as the original.
Yeah, the Sailor Moon tokusatsu is honestly, it seems really beloved.
I've heard it's really good.
Which, it's such a perfect fit because, like, so much of Naoko Takeuchi's influences for Sailor Moon, it was just blending shoujo tropes. I don't say tropes pejoratively, obviously. It's just a lot of blending shoujo tropes with tokusatsu.
Yeah.
Like, the, like, Toei, like, comedy theater or whatever it was. I think I may be getting the production studio name wrong, but it's the stuff where, like, Ishinomori was doing stuff like Robocon and all that. Like, a lot of that stuff wound up making its way into Sailor Moon. More so than like any like shonen anime or manga or anything like that. As far as live action adaptations, there's like a 3-hour long adaptation of Helter Skelter, the Kyoko Okazaki manga, that seems fucking cracked. I love the way that movie looks. I would really like to see it. There's also I want to say it's a Hong Kong adaptation of Wicked City.
Oh yeah.
It seems really cool. And then obviously there's Future Cops.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna watch Future Cops. Friend of the channel, Gino, did a video on Future Cops.
Yeah,
go check it out.
Twice in 2 Q&As that Gino's videos have been brought up. That's how you know they're good.
Trying to promo our homie.
Absolutely.
Kitty Foe says, when you move somewhere, do you have to pack up a bunch of physical books or analog media? Is most of it just picking up a hard drive and a computer?
No,
we don't have too many books.
We had to buy us 2 additional shelves when we moved
Hazel and
here.
I like physical media like too much.
Yeah,
but I don't trust digital media.
I don't consider myself a collector. I consider myself somebody who just kind of needs to be able to flip through something for inspiration sometimes. Like, in addition to having these 2 shelves for books and a shelf for games that's already completely full, but Alyssa won't let me buy a second one.
No, we don't have room.
I also just have a collection of books that I kind of consider like a personal, like, Bible, just on my desk at all times, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, what's that one interview in this book that I really want to find, and then I go and I find it and I read the portion and I go, okay, cool, and then I feel I don't know, either inspired or I've sort of confirmed something that I wanted to look into. Yeah.
Yep. Zane says, I'd be delighted to hear if you have any neat tricks to psych yourself up for research and consumption, or if it's just a natural sense of wonder and curiosity. I feel like we've already answered this a few times this time around, but either way, the byproduct has been thoroughly entertaining to see secondhand, so I'm happy to watch regardless. Cheers and have a lovely time.
As far as psyching myself up, it really is just a matter of waiting until lightning strikes and I feel really inspired to research something. There are times where an idea will hit me, I'll research it for a little bit, and I'll either get distracted or I'll put it on the back burner. And then something else will happen and I'll go, oh shit, I actually really, really want to talk about this, like, now, and I'll start doing the research for it, and that then becomes a video, you know? Like, I think the way I'm making videos at this point is, like, I have the next 2 or the next 3 or 4 mapped out already, as I'm working on them in various stages, but, like, the exact order that they might come out is really just going to depend on how I wind up feeling and what I want to work on, and what kind of change of pace I'm going to want after I finish one video versus the previous.
I think it's always smart to have different things that you're juggling.
Yeah.
If you're able to, just because if you're sick of one thing, you can switch gears and still feel productive.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for asking all of these. I'm really hungry, so I'm going to leave and get this uploaded. I'm going to eat a peanut butter
sandwich now.
A peanut butter sandwich?
Peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, there we go.
It's short for peanut butter and jelly.
You're right, yeah. There's that old Fancy People Adventures comic. It's like, oh yeah, I'm on the net scoping for males. Males is short for females. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.